In the gospel, there is a call. There is a call for us to transcend the opposites. Right? We see it in St. Paul. St. Paul tells us, right? There is neither male nor female, neither Greek nor Jew, right? Neither slave nor free. And there is this call to transcend the opposites. But there's a very big difference between transcending something and confusing something. And hopefully, if you look at what I've been telling you about, to have this, let's say, ascendance of a feminine character which wants to take all the masculine qualities while at the same time demeaning the masculine characters in a story, what you have is not, you don't have this transcendence. You have confusion and an inversion, and you have a conflict, right? You have this perpetuation of a fight, and now it's just one side that's losing. Right? There were times in history where maybe it was the other side that was losing. And now we have this other situation. And we can see in the imagery that St. Paul uses about of marriage, we can find a glimpse of what it looks like to transcend the opposites. Because in the union of male and female, in the union of masculine and feminine, St. Paul tells us we are one body. There's an actual unity which is created in that bond of marriage. And that unity, which in a certain manner transcends the duality, because it unifies them together, it's productive. It produces children, produces community, produces family. And so when that happens, there is a productive result. Whereas when we have this inversion, the result of that is the opposite. It's conflict, and it's also sterility. And once we understand the basic elements of, let's say, that basic opposite of masculine and feminine, once we understand that it does, in fact, set itself up in society as male and female, we can then also see that it is, of course, more than that. Then in a certain manner, we are called to play those roles in our lives as well. As the church, I always tell people, like, I am called to be the bride of Christ. I am called to also participate in the powerful and beautiful symbolism of the feminine, and then encounter my Lord in that manner. So it's not just about, like I said, it's not just about polemics and about complaining about some political change that is happening in front of our eyes. There's something much deeper there, and something much deeper which needs to be understood. Now, the problem, the trick in this, and this is really the thing that I think is in a way unexpected by many people, is that when we look at the trope, okay, so when we look at the trope of the badass feminine character, what seems to be happening is that, in fact, what we're praising, what we're celebrating, is actually not the feminine. What we're praising, what we're celebrating, is the very, the very classical masculine traits of being strong, of being tough, of being able to fight. All those types of kind of traditional male tropes. That is what we end up celebrating. And so the inversion actually creates this strange contradiction, which what is being diminished in the end, or what is being put to the side, is the beautiful and the powerful feminine symbolism which has been held by humanity for thousands of years. We are ignoring it. We are pretending as if what really matters, what's really important, is that we can embody those roles. That what matters is to be the CEO. All we want to know is how many female CEOs there are, how many female policemen there are? How many? That's what we want to know. But we're not. We've forgotten. We've abandoned a celebration of the beautiful imagery of the feminine. So this, I'm going to show you an icon. This icon in the Orthodox tradition could be the most, let's say, celebratory of what we'd call kind of the hero type of behavior, right? It's very, very, it encapsulates pretty much simply everything that's going on. We have a princess who is in distress, and there is someone who comes and kills the dragon in order to save the princess. And so it has its place. Like it definitely has its place. Now, the thing is that there is another version of this story. There's another, it's not the same story, but there is a feminine version of this interaction between the masculine and the feminine. So this is a version, and I think it has some importance. But there is also a masculine version, right? And so, for example, the story of Beauty and the Beast, we have a masculine character who is a monster, right? Who is out of control, who wants to control everything, who wants to hold her, he wants to capture her, he wants to control her presence there. And in the story, what happens is that Beauty is able to tame the male monster. And she's able to transform him into a man. Now, this story is it's not just Beauty and the Beast. There are many examples of this. One of my favorite examples of this story is it's called Howl's Moving Castle. It's by a Japanese director named Miyazaki. And in this story, we have that very trope, and the character, the feminine character, is extremely powerful. She basically holds the life of this monstrous masculine character in her hands, and she slowly brings him to transform and to open up a new space in which he can be more than what he was before. But think of not just in popular culture. In the Bible, we have the story of Queen Esther. And the story of Queen Esther is pretty much the same story as Beauty and the Beast. We have this foreign king who everything is there set up to destroy the Jews. And then her, through her grace, through her manner in which she is able to approach the king and tame him, you would say, she brings the king, she invites the king to her house. And the king enters into her house, and then she reveals to him this secret that, in fact, Haman wanted to kill the Jews. And in revealing this beautiful secret, this powerful secret, then the king changes and things flip over. And then the king turns against Haman. And there are many, many other stories. In very, very ancient stories, in the story of Gilgamesh, we have a very similar story. We have a beast named Enkidu, who is basically a wild creature in the forest. And the people of the city, they send this woman, and then by encountering this woman and entering her into a relationship with this woman, he then learns to become a human being. So it's a very, very ancient story, and it's a very powerful story, which shows you the other side. Instead of just wanting to put a woman on the horse, St. George's horse, who kills the dragon, it shows another aspect, another very powerful aspect of what the flip side of that story is. So let's look at this image again. Now, we have many images of of feminine symbolism in the church, in our tradition. And many of them, they turn around the Mother of God. And the images that we use for the Mother of God are images of her being the opening up of this place, the opening up of this possibility. She is the temple. She is the Ark of the Covenant. She is the dawn. There are all these images that we use of her to show her as this place in which something will happen, in which the divine will manifest itself. And so even in so the Mother of God becomes the frame. She becomes the frame into which the manifestation happens. And we can see that even in this icon here, right? We can see that even though we have this idea of the helpless princess, for example, that the princess is the one who is enticing, if you will, the hero to act. Without her, there's nothing happens. There is no heroic action. And that can be good or bad. This is just a structure. It can be good or bad. If you look at the Trojan War, right, we have the same structure. The Trojan War is fought over Helen of Troy. She is the one who brings the Greeks together. That's why the Greeks are called Hellenes, right? She is the one who actually entices the Greeks to join together in order to fight and rescue her from the Trojans. And so she becomes the space into which these Greeks can come and become something, actually manifest something, some identity, right? And so we have this image. We have this image of the Mother of God, of Mary as this frame, as the space, as the opening up of the possibility. So you can see her in this. This is the most ancient tradition of the representation of the Mother of God, is to show her as the throne of wisdom, to show her as this throne. But if you look at the image, you'll see that she is also this frame. She is the space out of which, the sun rises, the space out of which something is happening. And that pattern is going to be the pattern of this mysterious presence of the feminine, always there in the church, always there and following the story of the church. And I'm going to show you this pattern. So this is the wedding of Cana. Now, in the story, we see exactly. It's one of my favorite stories in the gospel, because Christ is hidden. Christ is not acting. No one knows. He's a secret. She knows the secret. She's the only one. She knows the secret. But Christ is not acting. And so then there is a problem. No wine. So she goes up to Christ and she says, there's a problem. There's no wine. And it's very fascinating, because what does Christ answer? He says, my time has not yet come. And you think, that is a crazy answer. She's telling him there's not enough wine, and he's answering, I'm not willing to die yet. How do those things relate? And they relate in the fact that she is inviting him. She's inviting her son. She is saying, here's the question. Show me the word. Show me the answer. Give us the answer. There's that crazy scene in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I love that scene when everybody knows it. When the lady, she says, the man is the head of the household. but the woman is the neck. And we think it's funny and it's hilarious, but I think there's something very profound in that statement. Because the Mother of God is saying, this is the place where I'm asking you to manifest yourself. And then Christ has to decide whether or not he's going to do it. Now think of that in our lives. Think of that as a church. What do we do? What does the church do? We ask, we pray. We ask God, we say, here is my suffering, here is my sin, here is my question. And we ask God to manifest himself in that space that we open up as the church. And what does the church say in the book of Revelation at the end? What do? They're calling, they're enticing, they're asking, they're saying, come Lord Jesus. They're asking for Christ to return. And that is really the powerful symbolism of the feminine as it manifests itself in the church. Now, this structure, I think it's kind of the opening scene for this, where we really see the Mother of God inviting Christ to manifest himself, him knowing that if he shows himself to the world, it's going to lead him on this path to his death. He knows already that's where he's going. But this is the opening of that new space for him to enter into. Okay? If you're interested, I wrote an article called Sacred Art and the Power of Women. You can find that, Google it, you'll find it. And one of the things I show is that Eve did that too. Like she enticed, like she kind of opened up a space for Adam, and that space was a fall. And then the Mother of God does the same, but she flips it, right? She opens up the space again, and then she flips it so that now it's to our salvation. It's very powerful. I think it's just one of the most beautiful patterns in the big story. Now, the pattern repeats itself over and over. We have, for example, in the judgment of Christ, there is Pilate who is there and has to judge Christ. But in the background of that story, there is Pilate's wife, who we actually venerate as Saint Procla. And she secretly, no one in the crowd knew, but she secretly, whispering in his ear, she said, "This man, he's special. Be careful. Don't mess with him." Then we have this same structure. Who is the first person to go to the empty grave? Who is the first person who alone in that secret encounter to encounter the risen Lord? It's Mary Magdalene. And then she goes to the disciples, and then the disciples will encounter him in the space, and they will also be the ones who will end up proclaiming the resurrection of Christ. But she is the one who opened up that space. Then we have all the royal women of our history. Every single royal woman, every time a nation, maybe not every time, maybe it is, but at least that we know of, there are so many examples that when a nation converts to Christianity, what's the trope? The trope is the same. There is a woman who converts, and there's this private, secret encounter that we don't even know. We don't know what those women told to their sons or to their grandsons or to their husbands. But we see the pattern, right? We have Saint Helen who converts, and then Constantine. We have Saint Olga, the grandmother of Saint Vladimir, who converts, and then Saint Vladimir. But it's everywhere. The first Frankish king, Clovis, the first Christian Frankish king, who converted first? His wife. The first British king, King Ethelbert, is that how you pronounce it? King Ethelbert of Kent. It was his wife who converted first. This pattern is non-stop, and we see it not only with the royalty, but we see it with the saints too. We see Saint Monica, who converts, and then we have Augustine, who is the Western pillar, the Western, he is basically, he's that on which the West is founded. And then we also have Saint Macrina, the sister of Saint Basil, of the Cappadocians, who converts, and then her family converts. And so the difficulty about this is that, we often say in the Orthodox Church that the Mother of God is a mystery of the Church. We say that. We say we don't have too many doctrines about her. What we have is that encounter, that secret encounter, that as you enter into the life of the Church, you discover the Mother of God. And so, I even always have been hesitating to even talk about this subject. Because in a way, here I am proclaiming something that is supposed to be, right, this thing that you discover as you look, and it's not there. It's, this pattern. No one will say, oh, look, the mother of Constantine converted before, and so, hey, we that's not there. It's something which is hidden and is this secret opening of a space. And so, in a certain manner, it's something that we probably shouldn't be talking about, but that we should probably be experiencing and discovering in that secret place. But I think that the reason why I want to talk about it is that I believe that this beautiful symbolism of the feminine is something we have as this precious jewel. And in a world where we're so confused about these questions, where we think somehow that value is to be strong, is to be a fighter, is to be on top, is to be a leader, and then we forget the value of the private space, of caring, the value of caring for those that are there, of also discovering that mysterious opening of the place where God can enter into our own lives. Right? There's this image, everybody knows about the Song of Songs in the Old Testament, where it is this song, the Song of Solomon, where it is basically a romantic discussion between a lover and of two lovers. And the church fathers have always interpreted that as this relationship that we are meant to have with God. That as we need to be able to inhabit that feminine space of opening up the possibility of then encountering this light that we saw on the knees of the Mother of God, the light that we see when we look in the apse of our churches and we see the Panagia with her arms open and Christ who is coming out of the dawn, who is showing himself on the ark, who is sitting on his throne. And so I think that we need to be aware of that and be able to explore and to celebrate that beauty, and not let ourselves fall into the war of the sexes that we see raging around us. And so, thank you very much. That's what I had for you tonight.